Welcome to this video, the start of a new series, like many other series that I'm starting at the moment. This is called Chess Giants. I was looking for a title there. The main point of this series is to present great games from the past that were played by world champions, other strong players, but should be classic games, older games, but games to enjoy, spectacular games. It's about learning some things, but also enjoying those great games. I'm going to present games from all ages of chess, from the last century, but even older stuff. Maybe I get in some game from Steinitz or Murphy at times. But okay, I'm just going to start with a very spectacular game played by Michael Tal on the white side and Vasily Smyslov on the black side. So we're starting with two world champions. At the time this game was played, it was 1959. Both were competing for the title of world champion in a way by participating in the candidates tournament that was held in some various cities in Yugoslavia probably. Smyslov at the time was the ex-world champion. He lost the title to Budvinik in a return match, I think the year before, in 1958 or 57. One of those. And Tal, of course, was a young player, 22 years old, and this was a typical type of rising like a comet, I think is the expression. He's playing the spectacular attacking chess. Both certainly wanted a title match, and we got a great fight in this game. Tal played 1 e4. He played all opening moves, but e4 was his main move, especially in the younger years. c6, d3, interesting. Tal is playing a non-theoretical move in a way, not going for a quick d4. d3 is very often leading to positions typical of the King's Indian attack. For example, d3, he played d5, Smyslov knight d2. Now Smyslov played e5, occupying the center. If black plays something like this, for example, we can easily get a position that resembles a reversed King's Indian. With e5, however, play gets somewhat distinct character. Knight f3, attacking on e5, and knight to d7. This nowadays is not played so often. Not a bad move, but it's a bit less common nowadays. Bishop d6 has become the main line here, after which white can continue in a slow fashion, like bishop e3 or g3, but he also can play d4. Funny looking move, this loss of a tempo, but it leads to a decent structure for white, for example. Something like that can happen, which resembles the French Tarrasch in a way, with black losing this d4 pawn back, and then we have an IQP position, isolated queen pawn. In the game, he played knight d7, and here also d4 was played. I think this is a pretty remarkable move because it shows that Tal was taking a very concrete approach to chess, which was a bit new at the time. New is maybe a strong word, but Tal was in a way a bit of a pioneer. If you look at chess as looking at chess as a more mathematical or more calculating thing, then he was a pioneer in this aspect. He looked more at concrete things happening, as other players who were more concerned about general consideration. In this case, d4, it looks like a loss of a tempo, but for concrete reasons, it's a good move. It attacks e5. And yeah, what should black do? Probably in this position, e takes d4 is the more reliable move. He took on e4 in the game, but taking on d4 is maybe more reliable, as mentioned. White should take, and then we get a position that is comparable to other IQP positions, something like this. And probably black has nothing particular to fear in this position. What is not very much ideal is this knight on d7. You rather have it on c6, but on the other hand, black does not have any bad piece or big problem. Of course, the pawn is slightly weak, but that's not the end of the world. He took on e4, after which knight takes e4 is played, of course. And here black again has this problem that e5 is attacked. And you don't really have a good way to protect the pawn. So he decided to capture. And now the queen captured. And it's quite funny. White has somehow lost a move with d3, d4. It looks like loss of a move. But still he has got the better development. Quite remarkable. Knight f6, bishop g5, not losing any time, just developing very, very quickly. Bishop e7. Here we come to a very typical situation. Here Tal has a choice. He has two good moves. He can castle long, this is what he did, or he can play knight d6. And I'm quite sure a more technically focused player would probably have preferred knight d6. Knight d6 is simply strong for white. Black must take, queen takes, and now probably knight e4. This is the move that black probably must play, otherwise he's in even more trouble. Takes, bishop c7, knight e4, now probably just bishop e2. And in this position, or maybe knight d2 is the question. This position, white is distinctly better. He's got two bishops in an open position, and he will torture black for ages. For example, I am willing to take a small bet here that probably a player like Fischer would have played knight d6, getting the bishop pair, getting a technical position which is totally one-sided, while Tal is preferring to play for the attack. He plays long castles, which is a good move, absolutely no argument, but it is less clear, less defined than knight d6. Long castles, yeah, black castle short, and now he put the knight on d6. Not a bad piece. It's a very annoying piece on d6. The knight is very problematic for black, and white also has this idea. Black now played queen to a5 in order to control the f5 square. He also could have played knight b6. Maybe this was a good alternative. Nothing great for black, but maybe this is more solid. This bishop is now covering f5. White, of course, can always take and sort of play a position like that. Again, an open position with the two bishops. But maybe this was easier to play than the game. Queen a5, however, is not a mistake. Not a mistake. It's just much more complicated. Yeah, Tal chooses I guess the best move. Bishop c4. Quickly developing. All pieces should be developed and also geared towards this point on f7. Black played b5. Tal played bishop d2, attacking the queen. Yeah, black's queen is attacked. Where should it go? There's really only a6. Yeah, if we go back, let's say to d8, then black must also reckon with the capture on f7. This is also a case in the game but the queen is, I think, better placed on a6. Well, he went to a6, knight f5, back, attacking the bishop on e7. Black now has a big choice, and it's quite remarkable that so early in the game we have a big crisis. The bishop is attacked. Where should it go? I think black mostly has two moves to consider. Bishop to d8, played in the game, or bishop c5. Yeah, bishop c5 leads to amazing complications. It's of course comparable to what happens in the game. The bishop is of course a bit more active on c5, at least it appears to be more active. Queen h4, of course, this is what white probably should do. Queen f4 also interesting, but queen h4 is probably more obvious. Yeah, and now we need to check what happens if black takes the piece. It's a piece sacrifice after all. Yeah, what does white do now? The strongest move here is bishop to c3. Just a silent move, setting up this bishop on the long diagonal. Let's check what happens if white plays differently. You can play queen g5 here, but after knight e8, it is not clear what white is doing next. That's a big difference to the game, where the bishop is on d8 and where white could just take the bishop. Yeah, we will see this later. With the bishop on c5, queen g5 does not really do anything good. But bishop c3 is in fact a strong move. White has the time to improve this piece. What should black do? Yeah, black really does not have any slow moves. Yeah? He cannot just play a random move and be okay. White's attack is simply too strong for that. So let's say he would play something like rook e8, for example. Yeah. After this move, white is winning immediately with rook takes d7. That's a very strong move. If now the knight takes, we're going to win immediately. Knight g5, attacking on h7. Black has absolutely no defense against that. Yeah, for example, knight f6. Yeah, white can take on g7. If you take here, there's this move coming. Not a good idea. But knight takes g7 is going to win this very quickly. The rook hangs, the knight hangs. If black takes,
check. Checkmate.
It's a direct mate. There's a fantastic attack that black is unable to cope with. Black absolutely should play a forcing move. Queen takes a2. That also gets queen a1 check into the equation. Very important. It's not the pawn, but it's the counter ideas against the king that are important. Yeah, what should white do? There is no time for anything slow, so it's rook takes d7. Amazing stuff. The same idea that we had before. Yeah, now it's easy. Bishop d7.
Check.
Gets killed immediately. Very nice. Yeah, this leads to a checkmate. Black only has some spy checks here, but he cannot prevent this checkmate. If black goes to h8, white wins with queen f6. Also very nice.
Checkmate.
And a mate. And black has no counter chances. Again, it's just some, after queen f6, just a spy check here. So, after rook d7, bishop d7, not working at all. What about knight d7? After knight d7, white also wins with, okay, here there's more than one good way. Queen g3 is also strong, but white can also play queen h6, which is simply fantastic. Yeah, taking
checkmate
is a mate, and black has no way to cover g7. Only some spy checks again. So after rook d7, it's amazing. Black cannot take one of those pieces. What is black's best move here? And there's only an absolutely amazing resource here. Bishop to b4. This is a move that, in fact, black can still play. It looks totally crazy, but it's the only move that continues the game. The idea is that after white takes on b4, the bishop is driven away from the long diagonal, so black actually can take on d7 without losing immediately. There are some interesting lines here, of course. Instead of bishop b4, white can also play the check on h6. Yeah, let's start with this. Check on h6. It starts with this. If black takes,
check,
we are going to mate him. Very, very quickly even. Mate next move. Yeah.
Checkmate.
The rook is blocking this. Not easy to see. Okay, so king h8 must be played after the check. And now what should white do? Yeah, probably bishop takes b4. It's not possible anymore to win in spectacular fashion because black has some counter threats. Yeah, this for example is a self-mate. Not a good idea. And this formerly spectacular move is not winning anymore. It looks very nice, but after this, in fact, black can take because bishop f6 it's not possible. It's a pin here. It's funny. White can still continue all this with knight takes f7 and everything's hanging. Very typical of Tal. King g7, rook takes a1, bishop d7, bishop b4, rook f7. Yeah, and this is a very long line already. We are 10 moves deep, and it's not quite clear what's going on here. White is an exchange down, but he has some very substantial compensation for that in terms of pawn structure. And this is not the only line possible. By the way, white can also consider to take here immediately, which is a bit different. Very complicated stuff. It seems that bishop c5 was a possible defense, but you've seen how complicated those lines are. Very difficult to do that over the board. And this was a very, very typical situation for Tal's opponents, especially in those wild years, late 50s, early 60s, where he was constantly getting into those super dangerous attacking positions. And players simply weren't used to this kind of super precise defense and this aggressive way of playing. Okay, bishop d8 was Smyslov's move. Not bad, absolutely not. He did a good job initially. Queen h4. The queen wants to get into attacking position towards the king. Of course, it's a piece sacrifice. Takes and queen g5. Here we see a big difference to the other line. Knight e8 is bad here because of just queen takes d8. This bishop is hanging. This is not a defense, obviously. So what should black do? He played knight to h5. This is the best move. Looks a bit crazy, but the best move that is available. g6. After knight h6.
Check.
King g7.
Check.
Knight f5 is maybe leading to a draw. It's very difficult now for white, sorry, after king g8 to play something better than knight h6. Very difficult. Not sure. I mean, g6 is a move that you don't like to play so much because it looks like weakening the structure. But maybe it was okay. Another point could be that maybe Smyslov was trying to win the game. Why not? He's a piece up. Yeah, so it's not clear why you should play g6 and allow a possible repetition. By the way, after this,
Check.
black shouldn't go in the corner. After bishop c3, the threat of rook takes d7 is very, very strong. For example, queen a2, rook d7 is winning the game immediately. Yeah, knight h5. Knight h5 was played. Yeah, what should white do now? Yeah, the knight is hanging, of course, but if white takes, there is knight f6, and this is simply winning for black very quickly. The tables are turned. The knight is the queen is attacked, and after something like this, oops, g6, white's queen is in trouble. For example, something like this is very strong for black. The attack is also completely over, while black is still attacking the a2 pawn, very importantly. So, the capture on h5 is not right. What should white do?
Check.
Tar gave the check, and only now took on h5. Queen takes h5. Yeah, black now took on a2 for counterplay, not for the pawn. Queen takes a2. And now white played the obvious move, bishop c3. This bishop must participate in the attack. So we have reached a very, very sharp position, of course. White has those attacking forces, bishop on c3, knight on h6, queen on h5, all posted actively against the king. And black really must be very cautious in defense. What should he play? Black still is fine here. He only has to find the right move. The right move in this position is bishop to f6. Looks fairly logical, trying to neutralize this bishop on c3. How could it continue? Yeah, more than one way. I'm giving you one possible line. Knight f7 also is possible. Black just plays king g8, but knight g5 is also a dangerous looking attacking move. After that, black will take.
Check.
With a check. And now f6. This looks like a very good defense at first, but it is not as good as it looks. f6, queen f4. And now, what should black play? It's important to see that capturing the knight is not really good because of rook e1. Those moves, those silent moves without a check, are difficult to see. The idea is, yeah, there's more than one actually. One idea is that knight e5 is not working at all due to rook takes e5, with white winning with the checkmating attack. This defense is not possible. But what should black play? The problem is, if he goes back, for example, there's rook e7. And this is impossible to defend. There's just too much going on at the same time. Something like this, queen h6 to h7. Black is totally paralyzed. He's a piece up, but he really has no defense against this attack. All those moves are difficult to see, especially beforehand. When you're right in the position, you might see them, but you have to see it much earlier than that. Black, however, after queen f4 has a defense, more than one actually. Knight c5 is a defense. There also is knight e5 as a possible defending move. We can look at knight e5. At first it looks ridiculous, white can take, but black in fact can ignore it all and just develop with bishop e6. Quite funny. The point is that if white now moves the bishop somewhere here, for example, then rook d8 is possible. An interesting way to defend knight e5. Knight c5, however, is probably better, or simpler even, just not returning any material. Here white can draw with knight f7.
Check.
Funny way, black cannot take, of course.
Check.
It's a mate. So king g8, and white again
Check.
has a check with a perpetual. If black takes, we
Check.
have this check. And again, black must be cautious. You shouldn't step to h8.
Check. Check.
Mate. Next move. You must go here, and then queen
Check.
c7 is good enough for a draw by perpetual check. White always has enough attack to get at least a draw, but bishop f6 must be played. He played knight f6. And if you don't know the game, you might look at this position, treat it as a little exercise. What should white play in this position? White to play and yeah, getting a decisive attack, a direct win. Yeah, white wins with queen takes f7. Very, very nice move. Always want to sacrifice the queen, of course. Yeah, first the easy things. If black takes the queen,
check.
We're going to checkmate black.
Check. Checkmate.
Like this. Or alternatively,
checkmate.
Like this. Very nice. So black cannot take the queen. What should he do? Of course, there's queen takes f8 threatened. So not much choice. Black can basically only give the check here.
Check.
King d2. Yeah, and now the funny thing is that of course the queen is also attacked. So after the rook capture on f7, which was played, yeah, it's a check on f7.
Check.
And now we just take the queen. We can take stock now after king takes knight.
Check.
Knight e5 and knight takes e6. White is an exchange and a pawn up. So the whole combination with queen takes f7 has led to material gain. Exchange and pawn is plenty enough to win the game. We only have a couple of more moves.
Check.
Black gave this check. King went up.
Check.
And bishop d4. And here Smyslov, probably very disappointed, resigned the game. Yeah, a typical tar game. Sparkling attacks, very nice. Here we have a situation where, in fact, black defended very well up to this point, but now simply, I guess, cracked under the pressure. While I think that the lines after bishop f6 not so easy to evaluate, I think it's quite remarkable that a player of Smyslov's strength after knight f6 obviously overlooked queen takes f7, or maybe overlooked some line related to that. But it's all part of Tal's playing style. He's putting so much pressure on the opponent that very often they cracked. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this game. Great attacking chess here. And well, I'll be back with other subjects. Classic games, end games. Stay tuned on this channel. Thanks for watching.